Progressive disorder, so his function will get worse and worse, and he won't be able to do many of the activities we all do in life.
A nurse at Bruce Willis's hospital disclosed the final chapter of his life when dementia stole his voice, leaving only silence in his last moments. But behind that silence, his family faced heartbreaking choices that tested love, loyalty, and survival.
It was one of the hardest decisions that I've had to make so far.
And that decision carried consequences that changed everything in Bruce's final hours. The last moments, love without words in Bruce Willis's final days. Bruce Willis's last period of life was not measured in dramatic headlines, but in the quiet, intimate reality of living with frontotemporal dementia. Every statement from his family, every rare public glimpse, and every medical explanation revealed how his world narrowed to touch, presence, and fleeting recognition. Emma Hemming Willis became the definitive chronicler of these moments. In her interviews, she explained that Bruce's physical strength endured while his cognitive function collapsed, but she emphasized again and again that it's just his brain that is failing him. For caregivers, this paradox was brutal, to see vitality in body while the mind faded. In her ABC News conversation with Diane Sawyer, Emma described the terror of the first diagnosis.
To leave there with nothing, just nothing. With a diagnosis I couldn't pronounce, I didn't understand what it was.
I can only imagine the panic.
She revealed that Bruce himself never connected the dots, a symptom of FTD. Doctors explained that the disease strips patients of the very ability to reflect on their condition, leaving families to grapple with the truth alone. By his final stage, Bruce's language had almost entirely disappeared. Emma admitted they had developed a new form of communication through gestures, touch, and presence.
Yeah, the language is going. And we've learned to adapt, and we have a way of communicating with him, which is just a different way.
She emphasized that love did not require words, describing moments where simply holding hands or sitting quietly together gave them connection. These adjustments marked his last moments, silent but not empty, wordless yet still human. His daughters adapted similarly. Emma explained that transparency was essential for Mabel and Evelyn, who were still young when the diagnosis was revealed. She provided age-appropriate answers to their questions, ensuring they were not left in confusion. For Rumor, Scout, and Tallulah, the process was more painful, watching their father, once larger than life, fade into dependency. They often shared memories publicly, posting tributes and photographs, attempting to preserve his image for fans while also mourning in private. For Emma, the caregiving burden became both her mission and her identity. She admitted that without external support, she would not have survived the stress. A neurologist once warned her that caregivers often die before their loved ones, pushing her to build a team of professionals.
It was Bruce's neurologist that said sometimes caregivers die before their loved ones. And I think that was my wake-up call to realize that I need to get help.
This became her message to others. Caregiving is not a solo mission. By publishing The Unexpected Journey, she sought to give future caregivers the roadmap she never had. Publicly, the family managed Bruce's image carefully. They released videos showing him smiling, dancing, or celebrating birthdays, but avoided raw depictions of decline. For instance, one of the last clips circulated online showed Bruce thanking firefighters. His words appeared intact, but Emma clarified that he was not aware of his condition, underscoring how appearances could mask reality. These controlled glimpses allowed fans to feel connected, while preserving his dignity. Medical experts explained why Bruce's condition seemed so paradoxical. Dr. Jonathan Reiner stressed that while communication collapses, physical health often endures, creating the illusion of wellness even as the disease advances. Dr. Bruce Miller confirmed that FTD robs patients of empathy and emotional regulation, often leading loved ones to mistake symptoms for personal rejection. Emma admitted that before diagnosis, she interpreted Bruce's coldness as marital trouble, never suspecting it was neurological. Emma's interviews increasingly focused on the idea of meeting Bruce where he is. She emphasized that the family's goal was no longer to cling to the past or anticipate recovery, but to embrace him in his present state.
Bruce has this variant called PPA, where you lose your language and, but sometimes love does not need words. And I can just sit there with Bruce and look at him, and we look at each other and we laugh and smile, and that to me is more than anything.
This philosophy defined his final chapter. Not recovery, but adaptation. Not despair, but presence. As his decline deepened, Emma highlighted fleeting moments of recognition. She described how Bruce's eyes would light up when he saw family, how he still reciprocated hugs and kisses.
We're kissing him, we're hugging him. He is reciprocating.
For her, this was enough, proof that connection endured even without memory or language. She declared that she did not need him to remember their marriage. She only needed him to remain present in their shared moments. Reports confirmed that by his final phase, Bruce could no longer feed himself, needed round-the-clock support, and lived entirely under professional supervision. His last moments before death were characterized not by dramatic events, but by quiet dependence, surrounded by family who ensured his dignity remained intact. Emma described his environment as one filled with warmth, laughter, and care, rejecting portrayals of despair. For the public, Bruce Willis's death marked the end of an era. He had been one of Hollywood's quintessential action heroes, redefining masculinity in films like Die Hard, The Fifth Element, and Armageddon. Yet his last years reminded audiences that even icons are vulnerable to illness. His decline humanized him, transforming the larger-than-life star into a symbol of resilience against an unstoppable disease. The family's openness about his diagnosis also expanded awareness of frontotemporal dementia. Before Bruce's case, FTD was little known compared to Alzheimer's. Doctors pointed out that it is the most common dementia in people under 60, yet remains underdiagnosed. His story brought visibility to the condition, highlighting the need for research, early detection, and caregiver support. Emma herself acknowledged this mission, saying she wanted their family's struggle to help others shorten the time to diagnosis and avoid the isolation she once felt. When reflecting on Bruce's legacy, Emma described him as still present, still her partner, even if transformed. She emphasized that love had only deepened, reshaped by adversity. In one of her most poignant statements, she insisted that despite the disease, he was still her person.
It doesn't even feel like this husband and wife thing. We're almost past that. He's my person.
These words captured the essence of his final chapter, love stripped of labels, enduring even as memory and identity dissolved. The first signs, how Bruce Willis's decline quietly began. If the last chapter of Bruce Willis's life was defined by silence and presence, the years leading into it revealed the painful unraveling of his communication, independence, and identity. The earliest signs emerged in the late 2010s. Family members noticed communication struggles, lapses in behavior, and a return of his childhood stutter. Emma Hemming Willis, his wife, later recalled the precise shift.
Is there a first time, is there a moment where you thought, what is this?
He would always love taking the girls to school. And then those school runs just started to not happen as much. For someone who was very talkative and very engaged, he was just a little more quiet.
She initially suspected hearing loss, linked to damage he sustained filming Die Hard, when a gunshot scene permanently impacted his ear, but the deeper truth revealed itself later. In 2022, his family announced Bruce's retirement from acting, citing aphasia. On set, crew members noticed he relied on earpieces, struggled to remember dialogue, and required shortened working hours. Director Mike Burns confirmed he was visibly fatigued and cognitively impaired, and fellow actors recognized his decline as more than simple aging. This moment marked the public's first glimpse of the private health crisis already eroding Bruce's world. The diagnosis deepened in 2023 when his family revealed the underlying cause: frontotemporal dementia, FTD. FTD is a neurodegenerative condition that attacks the brain's frontal and temporal lobes, dismantling speech, empathy, and executive function. Experts like Dr. Jonathan Reiner explained that its onset is typically between ages 45 and 65, accounting for around 20% of dementia cases. Unlike Alzheimer's, which primarily impacts memory, FTD devastates communication and personality first. Patients often lose inhibition, emotional regulation, and awareness of their own decline. Bruce's wife Emma later revealed he often appeared removed, cold, not like Bruce, as the disease advanced, a shocking departure from the warmth he was known for. Family interviews confirmed the devastation within their home. Emma admitted she once considered leaving, misinterpreting his emotional distance as marital problems. Only later did she understand that the disease had been reshaping his personality. When the diagnosis came, she described it as both a curse and a relief, giving painful clarity to years of confusion. By 2023, Emma was speaking openly, balancing caregiving with raising their two young daughters, Mabel and Evelyn. In an interview, she confirmed Bruce no longer lived in the main family home, but instead resided in a separate residence tailored to his care.
People with an opinion and how quick they are to judge the caregiver. And that is what caregivers are up against.
It was one of the hardest decisions that I've had to make so far.
Though controversial online, Emma defended the choice, explaining it was the safest arrangement for both Bruce and their children. In the final years, Emma repeatedly emphasized Bruce's physical strength but cognitive decline. She stated that he was still mobile, healthy in body, yet slipping further from language and awareness.
Bruce is still very mobile. Bruce is in really great health overall. You know, it's just his brain that is failing him.
But she admitted painfully that language was vanishing.
But the language is...
Yeah, the language is going. And you know, we've learned to adapt, and we have a way of communicating with him, which is just a different way.
Caregivers created methods of nonverbal communication, relying on touch and presence rather than words. Emma later revealed her private dread, not knowing whether Bruce still recognized her. She said she believed he did, pointing to moments where his eyes lit up or he reached for her hand, but acknowledged that their marriage had transformed into something undefined. Still, she insisted he remained her person, even as the traditional roles of husband and wife dissolved under the weight of disease. Other family voices painted an equally vivid picture. Demi Moore, Bruce's ex-wife and lifelong friend, publicly expressed frustration at not being able to take on more responsibility for his care. She suggested bringing Bruce into her own home, but acknowledged legal constraints, since Emma was his guardian and decision-maker.
Bruce's situation truly breaks my heart. I can't just watch him suffer. And the nursing home won't let me take him. Emma is his sole legal guardian.
Despite tension, Demi maintained that family unity remained strong, with their blended household rallying together as best as possible. Bruce's children also navigated the harsh reality. His eldest daughters, Rumer, Scout, and Tallulah, reflected on his shift from protector to dependent. Younger daughters, Mabel and Evelyn, were shielded, but kept informed with age-appropriate honesty, as Emma confirmed in a People interview. She emphasized that transparency allowed them to feel safe, even if it meant confronting painful truths. When they ask questions, you tell them. I think that has given them a sense of safety to understand, what is happening. She stressed that shielding them with illusions would only increase confusion. Doctors highlighted the cruel progression of FTD. Dr. David August explained that the disease kills neurons in the frontal and temporal regions, worsening relentlessly over time. Onset to death often spans 8 to 10 years. In Bruce's case, his symptoms appeared to accelerate. Reports confirmed he had lost the ability to feed himself and required full-time assistance by his final period of life. The once fiercely independent actor, celebrated for his toughness, could no longer navigate basic daily tasks without help. Public glimpses of Bruce became increasingly rare. The family released carefully curated images and videos showing him smiling, singing with relatives, or celebrating milestones. These clips reassured fans of his continued presence while concealing the full devastation of his condition. In January, footage emerged of Bruce thanking Los Angeles firefighters, but Emma confirmed he was not aware of his condition and that his expressions were largely instinctive rather than reflective. In exclusive conversations, Emma described fleeting moments when Bruce's old self resurfaced.
Were there days that it would be Bruce again?
Yeah, I mean, we still get those days. Not days, but we get moments. It's his laugh, right? He has such a hearty laugh.
She admitted that his smirk or twinkle in the eye transported her back to the man she once knew, though those moments faded as quickly as they appeared. Each instance reminded her of the husband she was losing in fragments. Friends outside the family echoed the grief. Sylvester Stallone, a longtime colleague, spoke about his devastation.
It's just, again, it brings out the fragility of life. It bothers me a great deal because I started with him.
He urged people to seize the moment, stressing that Bruce's decline was a reminder of how quickly time can erase vitality. Through all of this, Emma refused to portray herself as a victim. She repeatedly emphasized her role as caregiver, publishing The Unexpected Journey to guide others facing similar challenges. She admitted that caregivers are often unseen, isolated and judged, and shared her mission to shine light on their struggles.
Caregivers are so unseen, and I realized that when we left that office with no support, and I had to dig so deep to find the support. I think that was my wake-up call to realize that I need to get help, and I'm not a failure because I need help. It's okay for me to raise my hand, and I didn't realize that. I really needed permission for someone to tell me that it's okay to get help. And
her voice became central in reshaping the public's understanding of what Bruce endured. By the time Bruce entered his last days, he was no longer able to communicate in words, no longer able to live independently, and no longer fully aware of his condition. Yet, as Emma stressed, he remained present in body, capable of touch, laughter, and fleeting recognition. She described sitting with him quietly, hugging him, and experiencing connection without language. In her words, sometimes love does not need words. The narrative of Bruce Willis's decline was not one of sudden tragedy, but of slow, inexorable erosion. His last moments before death were not defined by spectacle, but by silence, presence, and the unwavering support of his family. For his loved ones, the man himself was still there, even if altered beyond recognition. And for millions watching from afar, his journey became a mirror reflecting the brutality of dementia and the power of resilience in its shadow. The breaking point: family sacrifices, silent struggles, and Hollywood's farewell. While the first signs exposed the disease and the last stage defined his death, the middle years of Bruce Willis's decline were about restructuring every detail of his life: his home, his marriage, his career, and the public's perception. This was the period when the family had to accept permanence, not just symptoms. After the public disclosure of his frontotemporal dementia diagnosis, Emma Hemming Willis became the primary spokesperson. She emphasized how the family had to redefine their relationship with Bruce. Emma later revealed why Bruce was moved into a separate residence near their family home. She explained that a one-story property was safer for caregivers and more practical for 24-hour medical support. Despite criticism from outsiders, she defended the choice as a matter of survival, both for Bruce and their daughters. It symbolized a painful reality: the family home could no longer accommodate his needs. This separation also ignited speculation about Emma's personal struggles. She admitted in interviews that before the diagnosis, she contemplated divorce, misinterpreting Bruce's coldness and distance as marital problems. Once the truth became clear, she recognized that it had never been Bruce abandoning her. It was the disease dismantling his brain. That realization shifted her role permanently, from wife to caretaker, from partner to protector. Meanwhile, Demi Moore re-entered public discussions about Bruce's condition. Their bond remained strong despite divorce decades earlier. Demi expressed her desire to take Bruce into her own home, but acknowledged legal restrictions.
Emma is his sole legal guardian. I know Emma has no choice. First, for the sake of her 2 young children, living with someone with dementia would drain their energy. Second, Bruce can no longer feed himself. At 5 feet 11 inches and over 200 pounds, he's difficult for the Emma to care for. So I thought of 2 ideas. The first is for Emma to rent a place next door, but she'd need to hire 24-hour care with an annual salary exceeding $300,000. Although that's trivial compared to Bruce's $150 million estate. If Emma wants to leave more for the children, she's unlikely to pay for it willingly. The second option is to bring Bruce to my house. My kids and I could take turns caring.
This highlighted the ongoing logistical and emotional debates surrounding his care. Yet despite differences, the blended Willis-Moore family maintained unity, with all daughters supporting their father. Medical professionals emphasized the inevitable trajectory of his disease. Dr. David August explained that FTD progressively kills neurons in the frontal and temporal lobes, leading to irreversible decline. Dr. Bruce Miller added that patients often lack self-awareness. The parts of the brain that allow us to self-reflect are lost very early. This explained why Bruce himself never fully grasped his diagnosis, and why Emma repeatedly admitted,
"Does he know what's going on? Is that something that he is aware of?"
Hard to know. It's hard to know.
Yeah.
For his children, the challenge was balancing truth with protection. Emma explained that she chose transparency with their 2 youngest daughters, Mabel and Evelyn, framing the disease in age-appropriate ways. In interviews, she stressed that honesty created a sense of safety, ensuring they understood why their father had changed. Shielding them with illusions, she said, would only worsen confusion and fear. His older daughters, Rumor, Scout, and Tallulah, faced a different reality, watching the father who had once been their fearless protector become a dependent. Rumor especially often posted tributes online, thanking fans for support and reminding the public of Bruce's enduring spirit. On set, evidence of his decline had been visible years earlier. Crew members reported that he relied on earpieces to receive dialogue and sometimes appeared confused. Director Mike Burns recalled noticing cognitive issues during a 12-hour day in 2020, describing Bruce as fatigued and struggling. By 2021, audiences spotted him wearing an earpiece in American Siege. Sources confirmed he was being fed lines, revealing how the industry adapted to his limitations until his retirement became unavoidable. Despite his silence, glimpses of Bruce's personality endured. Emma revealed that laughter became one of the last bridges connecting them.
He has such a hearty laugh. And, sometimes you'll see that twinkle in his eye or that smirk.
These rare flashes provided his family with solace, reminders of the man who had once filled their home with energy and humor. But Emma admitted those moments were fleeting, vanishing almost as quickly as they appeared. Friends in Hollywood spoke publicly about their grief. Sylvester Stallone confessed,
But I don't care about that. I'm well past that. It's about showing them that I actually do something for a living besides play bad golf.
Of course, you're an amazing father. You're also a great friend, Bruce Willis. He's going through a difficult time. What does his friendship mean to you?
It's just, you know, again, it brings out the fragility of life and how you have to really, and everybody talks about it, they never do it, really seize the moment, embrace it. Really, if you're going to say you love someone, say it now. And so it bothers me a great deal because I started with him, you know.
Yeah. Well, I know he appreciates all your support, so thanks for being a good friend.
Thank you.
Stallone's comments echoed the wider sentiment in Hollywood. Sadness at the decline of a man once known as one of the industry's toughest action stars. Public appearances grew increasingly rare. In one of the last videos shared, Bruce appeared thanking firefighters, smiling but showing little comprehension of the moment. Emma confirmed he was seemingly not aware of his condition, a stark contrast to the sharp, commanding presence he once displayed on screen. These carefully released clips, chosen by the family, preserved his dignity while concealing the full devastation. Caregiving itself became Emma's full-time mission. She released a book, The Unexpected Journey, which she described as the guide she wished she had when Bruce was diagnosed.
When we received Bruce's diagnosis, we left that appointment with no hope, no roadmap. There was nothing, you know, to leave with no support, no guidance. And it's not just happening to me, it's happening to so many. And over the years, I've been able to, you know, put these incredible specialists and experts around our family. And that is how the Unexpected Journey was born, to be able to put their wisdom and insight into a book, to be able to share it with the next caregiver.
She repeatedly insisted that caregivers must not feel guilt for seeking help, recounting how Bruce's neurologist warned her that sometimes caregivers die before their loved ones. That realization forced her to accept outside support and release the idea that she could carry the burden alone. The blended family's unity became one of the story's most remarkable elements. Demi Moore was often present, alongside daughters from both marriages. Emma described their family dynamic as unusual but functional, held together by love for Bruce. The daughters ensured their father's environment was filled with warmth, laughter, and presence, even as words vanished. In People's coverage, Emma emphasized, "Sometimes love does not need words, and I can just sit there with Bruce and look at him, and we look at each other, and we laugh and smile, and that to me is more than anything." Doctors outlined the cruel prognosis. The average life expectancy from symptom onset in FTD is 8-10 years. Bruce's trajectory aligned with this window. First came aphasia, then broader cognitive decline, then loss of independence. By his final months, reports confirmed he could no longer feed himself, required round-the-clock professional support, and lived in an environment structured entirely around his care. Emma summarized the progression simply, "His brain is failing him, his body is strong, but the language is going." In media interviews, Emma also addressed criticism of her decisions. Some accused her of abandoning Bruce by arranging separate housing. She countered by explaining that the second home was filled with love, laughter, and family presence.
It is, you know, a house that is filled with love and warmth and care and laughter. And it's been beautiful to see that.
Even if someone is closely familiar with dementia or the condition you are caring for, they aren't in your home, so they don't know how your person is behaving or your family dynamics.
She stressed that caregivers face constant judgment from outsiders who cannot comprehend the daily reality of living with dementia. Emma's reflections revealed the paradox of Bruce's last stage. He was still physically present, but the essence of who he had been was vanishing. In her words, he was very present in his body, but detached from past and future. She described moments of peace sitting with him, hugging him, experiencing connection without the need for language. Love became cellular, a bond that transcended words or memory. The public's fascination with Bruce Willis's decline underscored his cultural impact. He was more than an actor. He was an archetype of toughness, humor, and resilience. To watch that image disintegrate under dementia was to confront mortality itself. His final years forced both family and fans to accept a sobering reality. Even the strongest action hero could be undone by disease. Emma summarized the cruel irony best.
Hard to know. It's hard to know.
Yeah. How was it to come to terms with this diagnosis for you?
I think it was the blessing and the curse, you know, to sort of finally understand what was happening so that I can be into the acceptance of what is. It doesn't make it any less painful, but just being in the acceptance is, And just being in the know of what is happening to Bruce just makes it a little bit easier.
Bruce's story became emblematic of the hidden struggles behind Hollywood's glamour. His wife, his daughters, his ex-wife, and his closest friends carried the truth, while the world saw only fragments. His last years revealed not only the progression of a disease, but the resilience of a family forced to adapt, redefine love, and preserve dignity in the face of irreversible loss. If you enjoyed this video, you'll love what's next. Just click the cards on your screen and continue watching.